This will be for the con exercise, comparing linear rates word problems. So the problems in this section will be based on the physics formula distance equals rate times time, or d equals r times t. Now, not all of the problems will be a distance problem, but nevertheless the formula will be the same, relatively speaking. And what you'll notice about these types of problems is that the units will cancel or drop out on the right hand side of the equation. So for instance, let's say we had a distance in miles, and the rate was in miles per hour. So you would write that as miles divided by hours. Okay, miles per hour, and that would be multiplied by the time. Let's say the time was in hours. So what happens here on the right hand side, we have hours in the numerator divided by hours in the denominator. And you'll end up with the same units on both sides of the equal sign. Okay, it says a computer is rendering two scenes. The computer has already rendered 540,000 pixels of a kitchen scene and renders another 90 each minute. Okay, and this is the other computer, has rendered 960 kilopixels of a garden scene and renders 60 more each minute. After how many more minutes will the scene have the same amounts rendered? Alright, so the first computer, it starts at 540 kpx. That's kilopixels, or 1,000 pixels. So we're going to start with 540. That's kpx. And then we're going to add 90 kpx each minute. So that's going to be 90 kpx each minute, so it's per minute. Now remember, before we mentioned the formula distance equals rate times time. Okay, right here, this 90 per minute, that's the rate. So that's going to get multiplied by the time t. And t is going to have to be in minutes, since they gave us the rate per minute. Okay, now if you want to write this formula without the units, it's a little bit simpler. It's just going to be 540 plus 90 times t. Alright, and now for the second formula, this one starts at 960 and it adds 60 each minute. So this one started at 540, this one starts at 960, and it's going to add 60 per minute. So instead of adding 90 per minute, now we're just adding 60 per minute. Instead of 90t, it's going to be 60t. Alright, and we want to find out when they're the same. So we're just going to set these equal to each other. Alright, we have 540 plus 90t. And that's going to equal 960 plus 60t. Okay, solving for t, we want variables on one side and numbers on the other. I try to keep the variables positive, so I'm going to subtract 60t on both sides, and it cancels here. Now since my t is on this side, I want the numbers on the other side. The opposite of positive 540 is negative 540. You want to do that to both sides. Cancels here, 540 minus 540. 90 minus 60 is 30. Bring down the equal sign. 0 minus 0, 6 minus 4, and 9 minus 5. Okay, this is t times 30. The opposite of times 30 is divided by 30. And it cancels here. 3 into 4 goes 1 time, carry the 1. 3 into 12 goes 4 times, and then keep the 0. Actually, yeah. Actually, this 0 cancels. So this 0 cancels, and t equals 14. Okay, I did this manually. If you want to do 420 divided by 30 on the calculator, you'll get 14. So they asked how many more minutes will the scenes have the same amounts rendered, and that was 14 minutes. Okay, Nayeli is proofreading a 75-page manuscript. Filman is line editing a 40-page manuscript. Since proofreading is faster, Nayeli completes 11 pages an hour, but Filman only completes 4 an hour. When they have the same number of pages left, how many pages will that be? Okay, first we're going to have to solve for the time and then plug it in. Alright, we're still using the basic formula. Distance equals rate times time. Okay, so for Nayeli, she starts with 75 pages. And she completes 11 pages an hour. Alright, so she starts with 75, and every hour that decreases by 11 pages. So we're going to subtract 11 pages per hour. Okay, and that is the rate, and it's going to have to be multiplied by t. And of course, since hours is here, it's per hour. This is going to have to be in hours. All right. Now, hours is going to cancel because one is in the numerator and one is in the denominator. And it's easier to write this without the units, so I'm just going to record it as 75 minus 11t. Now, for Filman, he starts at 40 pages, and he only completes 4 pages an hour. So instead of subtracting 11t, we're going to subtract 4t. Okay, because every time t goes up by an hour, he completes 4 pages. So this one right here is for Nayeli, and this one right here is for Filman. Alright, so we're going to set them equal to each other because we want to find out when they're equal. Alright, so I'm going to take the 75 minus 11t and set it equal to 40 minus 4t. Okay, you want variables on one side, numbers on the other. I try to keep the variable positive, so I'm going to add 11t to both sides. And 11 minus 11 cancels. Since the variables are on the right, I want the numbers on the left. The opposite of positive 40 is negative 40. And 40 minus 40 is gone. 75 minus 40, that's 35. Bring down the equals. Negative 4 plus 11 is 7 times t. The opposite of t times 7 is divided by 7. The 7's cancel. 35 over 7 is just 5. Now, they didn't ask for the time, they asked for the number of pages. So what you have to do with that t equals 5 is plug it in. Okay, you can plug it into either one because they're equal. So I'm going to plug it in right here, and that's going to be 40 minus 4 times 5. Okay, 4 times 5 is 20, and 40 minus 20 is just 20. So the time when they're equal is at 5 hours, but the number of pages when they're equal is 20. So you see the units are in pages for the answer. So enter 20. Akua designs and sells t-shirts for $13 each. Akua has to spend $280 per month plus $950 per t-shirt ordered. Let capital T represent the number of t-shirts ordered per month. Complete the inequality to represent the number of t-shirts where she at least breaks even for the month. So we're basically looking at her profit, or how much money that she makes. Okay, and it says find out when she breaks even. So in other words, the profit equals 0. She spends and makes the same amount. So the profit is going to be how much she makes minus how much she spends. Okay, and that's going to equal 0. So 0 is going to equal how much she makes. Well, she sells the t-shirts for $13 each. So she makes $13 per t-shirt. It says capital T is the number of t-shirts. So every time T goes up by 1, she makes $13. But she spends $9.50 for each t-shirt. So that's going to be 9.50 T. And she also spends $280 per month. So we're going to subtract $280. All right, the reason I don't have to put per month is because this is basically the profit for the month. All right, so since this is the profit for the month, and since she spends $280 each month, we don't have to put the months in the denominator. All right, so let's see. We want variables on one side and numbers on the other. So I'm going to combine these two. Okay, 13 minus 9.5 is going to be 3.5. And that's times T. And since the variables are on the right side, I want the numbers on the other side. The opposite of negative 280 is positive 280. So I'm just going to add that to both sides, and it cancels here. 0 plus 280 is going to be 280. All right, and bring down the equal sign. Solving for T, the opposite of times 3.5 is divided by 3.5. Cancels here. I'll do this on the calculator. Okay, and I get 80. So capital T equals 80. And that's how many shirts she has to sell each month in order to break even. All right, so in other words, if she sells more than 80 t-shirts, she makes money. If she just sold 80, then she makes $0. But when she sells more than 80, this is greater than 80, she'll start to make money. She'll make a profit. Remember, the inequality always points to the less than side. So this is T is greater than 80. So for her to break even, T has to be greater than or equal to 80 t-shirts. Okay, so this is T is greater than or equal to. Alright, last one. Aspen has 306 green beads and 210 silver beads. For every 5 centimeters of a belt that he sews, they use 40 green beads and 24 silver. After how many centimeters of the belt will Aspen have equal numbers of green and silver beads left? Alright, so for the green beads, he starts with 306. And he's going to use, or in other words, lose 40 green beads every 5 centimeters. So he's going to subtract 40 beads per 5 centimeters. Alright, so that's going to be 40 beads per 5 centimeters. Whenever you hear the word per, it's almost always dividing. So it's 40 beads per 5 centimeters. Alright, and since these units are beads, we need centimeters to cancel. So we're going to multiply by the number of centimeters. Alright, I'll just call it X centimeters. So in this case, centimeters divided by centimeters is going to drop out. And we're going to have 306 minus 40 over 5x. Okay, and x is the number of centimeters. Now, for the silver ones, we're going to start with 210. Start with 210, and we're going to lose 24 for every 5 centimeters. So over here it was 40 over 5, now it's going to be 24 over 5. And that's times x. So since we want to see when they're equal, we're just going to set these equal to each other. Alright, so I'll just write it right here. Alright, so this here is going to equal 210 minus 24 fifths times x. Alright, now luckily we have a common denominator. Alright, like I said, I try to keep the variable positive. So I'm going to add 40 over 5 times x to both sides of the equal sign. And it cancels here. Since my variables are on the right, my numbers are going to go on the left. The opposite of positive 210 is negative 210. And it cancels here. 306 minus 210 is 96. Bring down the equal sign. We have a common denominator, so 40 minus 24 is going to be 26. And that's over the common denominator of 5. And it's also times x. Alright, I made a small mistake. The 210s cancel, the 45ths x cancel. 306 minus 210 is 96. Bring down the equals. And common denominator, 40 minus 24 is 16. The denominator is 5, and that's times x. The way to solve for x is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So flip this, and it's 5 over 16. We're going to multiply that on both sides. And you should really try to cancel before multiplying if you can. 96 divided by 16 is just 6, and 5 times 6 is 30. On the right, this cancels and this cancels. We're left with x. So x equals 30, and that was in centimeters. Alright, I lost the problem, so I can't enter it in the box, but I'm pretty sure this would be the correct answer.